Can you hear me? Anybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, because uh, I need to apologize in advance. My internet this morning, it's kind of cranky. So if there are moments in which you can't hear me, please let me know. Until the rest of the people are joining us, I am really curious. How are you feeling today? So we have a really nice game or app, if I can call it like that, in which you will go to a website that I will share now. Work with me. Yes. So can you see the slido.com?
Yeah.
If you go on slido.com and use the hashtag morning, um, I will invite you to let us now know how are you feeling today. You know, I could just stare at this and watch it form the whole day. But we gathered here with one purpose, and now I'll stop sharing. And I just want to say another big good morning, everybody.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Morning.
Thank you so much for joining in today at our sixth edition of the virtual morning coffee. Um, okay, now it's working. For those of you who have not met the concept of Creative Mornings, it is a global movement that usually we organize monthly events in our local communities in over 200 cities around the world. It's a concept that started in New York City a few years ago, and um, it is for the creative people, but as the manifesto states, everybody is creative and everybody is welcome. We usually get together to share breakfast and coffee once a month and listen to an inspiring talk on a certain topic. Now it will be a little bit different. We will listen to an inspiring talk, but we don't have a specific topic as we used to. This is more like a friendly hangout that we're having every Friday morning. So I would love to see as many morning lovely faces as possible. And we also have a bear with us from Panama. Okay, cranky internet is, yeah. Can you hear me now? Okay. So usually at the Creative Mornings events, there's also a nice moment when you're waiting for the coffee or sharing the breakfast. So where you get to interact with people from the local community. Now there's the awesome opportunity of actually interacting with people from the global community. We have so many other beautiful morning people from around the world. And in order to meet each other and share some ideas, I will invite you in a breakout room. It's automatically, randomly, everybody will be divided in a certain number of rooms. You will be from 5 to 6 people. And you will be for 5 minutes where I will challenge you to share with each other what new hobby or talent you have discovered recently in the lockdown. So I will start the breakout rooms now. Welcome back, everybody. How was it?
It was nice. Thank you.
It was really beautiful.
And before I have another small game for you. If you'd like to try. I loved it so much when other hosts from Creative Mornings in the States, they tried this. So I will give you 30 seconds. It will be like a very fast scavenger hunt in the house. So I will give you 30 seconds to find one object or, I don't know, something or someone that brings you joy.
Ah, that's easy.
Yes, so the time starts now. So we have someone who brings joy.
Hello.
Hi.
And here, yes, we had also a someone. Oh, oh my God. There's another someone.
Good morning.
Your little cat.
Here's another one.
And the lovely cat, as always. She attended all the virtual morning coffees. And another lovely cat.
Another one.
And another one.
Wow.
And of course, we have the lovely
Lola.
Hey, hello.
Hi, Lola.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Lola.
Hi.
Let's see, do we have, oh, I see a unicorn. And some lovely flowers.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes.
And Ibrahim,
Me
what
too.
do we have there?
My notebook that I journal in,
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
where I write my diaries.
Hello. This is a little bighorn sheep that's made out of like bolts and metal. So it was made by an artist, and I got it when I was traveling in Montana after seeing a bighorn sheep like that I could have reached out the window and pet when we were driving in the mountains. So
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah. Very interesting.
And we have one more who wants to share. Oh, I see, I spy with my little eyes something from Veronica.
It's my little prince kaleidoscope. I'm very proud of it.
You should see how the joy is, how Veronica was so excited. And because the spotlight is on you, Veronica, I really want to thank you once again for accepting to share this morning with you. For those who don't know, Veronica, I don't know, it's very hard to put in words her beautiful spirit and character and the energy usually she shares with everybody. She was our speaker in June 2018 when we were exploring the global theme of craft. And actually during the talk, she did a wonderful kaleidoscope. I don't know if everybody can see. And usually she's a storyteller, a fundraiser, but mostly she's a kaleido lover. And I would give the virtual microphone to the lovely Veronica Soare.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Steffi, doesn't get easier when you're online. It's like my heart is beating fast. So I'm very happy and excited and enthusiastic about meeting you this morning. And I would like to thank each and every one of you who joined, people that know me, people who have been to my workshops, people who don't know me. I am glad to be giving to you the joy of living that I discovered through this beautiful word of kaleidoscope object. So I have, you know, I've been, thank you, Steffi, for inviting me. It's an honor to be here this morning. Because I've, you know, as Steffi said, I've been in Cluj a couple of years ago speaking about craft, and I developed the idea of what I learned while I was looking at people crafting kaleidoscopes, because my life has been always around this object. Actually, when people ask me what, you know, what are you and what are you focused on, I tell them that I am a believer focused on the good in the world and the beauty in the world. I mean, among all the things that I'm doing, you know, from fundraising to storytelling to writing or everything that I'm doing, at the end of the day, what interests me is the beauty in the world. And I feel very lucky. If I were to define myself in one word, I'd say I am a lucky person. And the great news is that I have, through my choices, I have chosen this luck. So apart from coming to me, I, you know, through my actions and my choices, how do you say, am adus spre mine. Sometimes, you know, when I'm so excited,
You attract it, maybe?
and I attracted it. So it's funny because I was so enthusiastic when Steffi said I have to have this in English, because I haven't had a chance in the past year to express myself in English so much. And because I'm so chaotic and in my mind there's so many words, sometimes I don't remember the smallest little word. Also, I've been preparing for today, but I am such a rebel that I don't even follow my own rules. So I have some ideas that I want to join. Let's see where that leads us. So my story, in a way, so I've been loving kaleidoscopes as a child. I think, is there anyone, I'd like to let me know who doesn't know what kaleidoscopes are. So who doesn't know what kaleidoscopes are, just raise your hand. Is there any? So
if you, for people who don't know how to use Zoom, if you go to participants, you have the option of raising your hand.
Oh yeah.
If not, you can also use the reactions button where you have the thumbs up.
I learn a lot from you, Steffi, which is great. Knowing that next Wednesday I have my first kaleidoscope making workshop online. So there's one, I've seen only one raised hand, just one person who doesn't know what kaleidoscopes are. Darling, I will tell you right now. So I think, so I've been loving kaleidoscopes as a child. And I also I forever liked, where did I put it? So when Steffi asked us to bring something that we love, so I love music boxes. And I also love, music boxes, kaleidoscopes, and carousels. But among them, I always thought kaleidoscopes are infinite. You know, when you look in one, it was never the same. And that, from childhood, that was always an idea that I would come to, such a small little thing that's infinite on the inside. So it's no wonder that years later, which is 5 years later, I set up a volunteering and fundraising project called Minun.ro, which stands for Marvels, Kaleidoscope of Good Deeds, because I wanted to show the beauty in the world. Because the word kaleidoscope itself, it means to look at the beautiful shapes. And it comes from the Greek words kalos, which is beauty, eidos, which is shape, and skopeo, to look at, to examine. So I wanted to show the beautiful shapes in the world. And what's, you know, she's Lola, and you've seen her previously, and she's part of my, she's actually a fundraiser in Minun.ro. Hello, Lola. And people who know me know that there are 3 C's in my life. One is my dog, which in Romanian dog stands for câine, which is a C. Kaleidoscopes and Camino. So all my life is around all these. So the thing is, I started making kaleidoscopes because I had this volunteering project. And at one point I thought, why shouldn't I gather people who love kaleidoscopes as a child so that we can play a little bit and, you know, remember childhood. As this object, you can't really find it. Everything is made in China that you find in the world. There are very few factories around the world or artisans who make them. So I just said, let's, you know, gather. It's 5 years ago now in May. Oh, actually this month. And I said, let's just play and see where that leads us. I only wanted, I promise you, to have a couple of workshops. But from the very first workshop, people were like, wow, that's the coolest thing I've ever done. And I was, you know, it was lovely. And Julia is here with her little Prince kaleidoscope. And I'm so happy that, you know, Julia chose that object among all the others. Of course, I have my kaleidoscopes. I have many of them with me everywhere. And I'll get there. But what I want to say is that I was fascinated by the fact that people were so happy to make them and at the end to look at them. And, you know, from 1 or 2 workshops, I got to develop Kaleidolove, where I facilitate workshops in, well, companies and schools, not so much these days, and public spaces, but now also online. The thing is that my life in the past 5 years has been a collection of smiles, because inherently people open their hearts when they look in a kaleidoscope. And I've been fascinated by that in the past 5 years. And they taught me a lot. So when I was in Cluj a couple of years ago, I was talking about what I learned by looking at people making them, crafting them. The theme was craft. And now I'll tell you a few of the lessons that kaleidoscopes have taught me. Because people, when they, you know, I'm always asked, even in this pandemic, I am asked, how do you make it that you're always all that bright and shiny? And it's no exaggeration to say that in the past 5 years, I have established myself like that. And I always choose the beautiful shapes. And this wonderful, unique, special, and infinite object has taught me that. I'll tell you a few stories. One that stays with me, I think it happened 2 years ago in spring. There's a taxi driver who gave me a wonderful perspective. I mean, he put in words something that was on my mind. So this taxi driver, I asked him to wait for me. He was getting me somewhere and then returning me to the office. And I asked him to wait for me. And of course, I always wear a kaleidoscope with me. I have one with me, you know. And he had to wait for me. And, you know, taxi drivers, don't be too late, don't be too late. And I gave him a kaleidoscope to look at until I come back. You know, I knew that time will fly very quickly if he will look in a kaleidoscope. And I come back to this almost 30-year-old boy who was like fascinated. It's like, wow, but I've never seen anything like it. Wow, that's amazing. And I couldn't believe that this object had such an impact on him. Said, you know, I've been growing up in the countryside, and we only played football as kids. I didn't know what a kaleidoscope is. But this is just amazing. I could stare at it all day. And I loved him and the way he talked. And he said, but Veronica, because I get to befriend people very easily, so he already knew my name, said, Veronica, I just have one question. I said, what? And he said, like, I don't, and the sun was, so we were in the car and the sun was shining, so he could see that at the end of it, the beads are in chaos. So he said, how is it possible that the beads here are not, you know, put in a harmonious way? But if you look on the other side, and I'll try to look at that. But if you look on the other side, everything is in harmony. And I was like, wow. And he looks at me, he stops staring at the kaleidoscope and he says, it's a thing of perspective, Veronica. And it was absolutely unbelievable, because this man knew in just a couple of minutes playing with this object what it states for. Because a kaleidoscope is like a person in our lives, or a situation or anything. And it's just a decision of where you look, of rather if you look at the chaotic side, or if you decide to look at the harmony and the beauty within. And I must say now, because it's so, you know, when you are with people in a room, you can hear them roar and everything, and I don't. So I'm trying to have this, they should make some noises like you are talking. Decide, are people laughing? Are people, because it's kind of, so hello everyone. It's so interesting to do it like that. So this taxi driver taught me something that I knew, but he put into perspective a thing, an amazing thing, that everything we decide if something is like this or like that. So I have to make a decision every day to anything. And yes, it's not always easy. When the pandemic hit, I was laying on my bed for like a couple of weeks because I've been, my little business was severely hit because my work is in, oh, Emily, oh, Mara, Joanna, that's so sweet. So thank you. You remind yourself to look there, Veronica. Let me get back to my idea. So I learned, that's another thing. I start a lot of ideas. If there's something I don't finish, please write me there, Veronica. You started another idea and you didn't finish the other one. Sometimes it happens to me that. I heard once that intelligent people do that. So I don't know. Kidding. So also, if you have love letters, you can write me them down there to everyone or just to me. I had to say it. So this thing with the taxi driver reminded me something that Anne Frank said: things are not as they are as we are. So if and I'll go back because I was talking about the pandemic, it kind of hit me. It was not easy in the beginning because I do most of my work is in companies and schools, and you know, all of them are closed down. And in 2 years, I've been developing and working towards it. And my schedule from the 17th of March was already full until the mid-May. And actually, today I should have been in Chicago, coming back from Chicago to host an event there. So a lot of things were happening, and all of a sudden, like a gardener who, you know, works towards his garden and plants a lot of flowers, different kinds of, and some, you know, bloom easier than the others. So in the past 2 years, I've been gardening my life, and all of a sudden the massive thunderfall arrived and I have nothing. I mean, not nothing, but a lot of it is gone. And I have to, and it's my decision to say that. And I was at my lowest because I forgot a little bit my own story. And then luckily somebody came and reminded me also in the fact that, Veronica, you have your object that teaches you to look at the beautiful shapes. Let's see, what can we make with the beads that we now have inside? And from the 1st of April, I'm, you know, my life all of a sudden, when people call me and ask me how you're doing, I tell them I'm great. I'm like, how are you great in these times? Well, because I decide to. It's a choice, and it's no motivational thing. It is a choice every single day. What we do, it's always a repetition, and it's always a choice to become and do and be better. And kaleidoscopes, that's something very, come back to them. You know, most of the times when people look in a kaleidoscope, they go, wow, that's so cool. Rather, even if, you know, we make them or they make them in workshops. And it's always, you know, it's like something wonderful that you look inside, that you see inside. But the thing is, it's always so much more than what it appears to be in the beginning. So kaleidoscopes, just like people, because I believe we are kaleidoscope. A kaleidoscope, there's no such kaleidoscope like this one on the inside. Even if I were to put the same beads, they would form different shapes. So we are kaleidoscopes, and that's another idea I believe in. But the thing is, just like with people, you know, some of you fascinate you from the beginning, some others, they need a little time. You know, in 3 Caminos, around 120 days walking northern Spain, in 3 different years, I learned that everyone has a story. The thing is to stop and listen to it, because everyone has something amazing to say. And, you know, think about, and we are not fair to ourselves and to others. Because, for instance, you go in a coffee shop and you see there are a couple of spots right over there, and you look at people and you go towards the empty space where you see someone that eventually you like. And it's so interesting. If you think about it, we always do that. We look at people and we eventually like some people more than the others. What I discovered is that everyone has a story. And kaleidoscopes taught me that, because sometimes it can happen. It happens to me, you know, when we make whatever 100 kaleidoscopes for someone, I look in 100 kaleidoscopes and not all of them fascinate me from the beginning. But what I learned is that I have to give them time. And if I explore a little bit, it will always show me something beautiful. So, and that I learned, especially in a workshop. It was last spring, it was on a Sunday, and the family came with 2 kids. And the boy was in the 7th grade. And it was obvious from the beginning that he didn't want to be there. And, you know, I tried to be fun. And I said, it doesn't really look like you want to be here. And he said, no. I was like, okay, that didn't go very well. I said, you know, Veronica, just be nice and everything's going to be fine. So I experienced 2 of my toughest hours, the only probably tough hours while I make kaleidoscopes with other people, because this boy didn't do anything to make my life anything else but living hell, because he was just not interested in the activity he was doing it just because his mom and dad wanted him to be there. And you know, it hurt me, and I said, so I decide whether I give love and I shower him love, or I ignore him, because I have another 20 people who are interested in what I have to say. So I decide whether I want to focus on him, or just, you know, he's going to do the kaleidoscope anyway. And Veronica, before her first Camino, probably would have said, you know what, you have your energy and you have to give it to all the people. You can't let yourself be influenced by someone who definitely doesn't want to be there. But Veronica, after her first Camino, is a bit better than that. And I said, it's exactly when people are at the lowest, they need more love. And that's why I decided to be just although I was hurt by his the way he was looking at me, I decided to just, you know, shower love. And at the end of it, and at one point, you know, I tell people not to put more than 2 black beads in a kaleidoscope. And I myself usually don't. I only put 1. That's another story, how we choose and how it defines us, what beads we put inside the kaleidoscope. So I said, don't put more than 2. And he put 5. And I said, Veronica, okay, so maybe you don't want to say anything because he's going to put another 5. Just leave it. It's going to be fine. And at the end of it, he looked at me. I went at the end and he started looking in his kaleidoscope. And I was busy, you know, with everyone, and everyone was enthusiastic. And at one point, this boy who was so tough on me for 2 hours, he came to me fascinated and he went, oh, Veronica, you have to see this. I see an owl inside. And he was so bright and shiny. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And I looked in his kaleidoscope, and his kaleidoscope was wonderful with 5 black beads inside. And, you know, I started looking because I was interested, you know, no one put so much, you know, no one underestimated my advice to put not more than 2. So I was interested to look at his kaleidoscope, and guess what I found? And I have photos to prove to my mind that I didn't invent it, because I was looking in his kaleidoscope and I was just rotating it a little bit. And at one point there was no black on the inside. All I could see was bright and shiny. And I turned a little bit more and it was still like that. And, you know, I left that workshop understanding that even when we are at the, you know, when there's a lot of black in our mind, if we move the kaleidoscope on the inside, if you rotate it, then it's, you know, it cannot not show the bright and beautiful colors. And that was a big breakthrough for me. And I'm very grateful that I decided to show this boy love, because of course his mom a couple of days later would write me a message telling me that his boy is so sorry that he didn't respond to the love the way he should have. And that's something that, again, Kaleidoscope taught me to just, you know, be at my best and just keep on playing around with people and situations, because they, in the end, there's a lot of beauty in the world. For instance, when people ask me, how did I survive in this pandemic alone? Well, with my beloved Lola, I tell them with tulips. What saved me was tulips, you know, just to look at my desk full of tulips, different colors, was just an amazing thing. And I found, you know, or I just, you know, open a book and I read something that the universe has to tell me. There's no such small thing. Or yesterday I was talking with someone over the phone at night when I was walking Lola, and I stopped near the church and I was smelling the roses, and I was on the phone. I said, just wait a second, I'm going to be missing for a few seconds because I need to put my nose in the rose. And that, you know, that's a beauty in the world that I think it most of the times goes unseen. So I do nothing but normal things as far as I'm concerned, but that they just made my life much easier. So let me look, because of course I told you I'm such a rebel, I'm not gonna even look at that. So the premise, you know, I started this positive thing. I mean, looking at the bright shapes 10 years ago when my brother died, you know, understanding that I cannot be here in the blink of the moment, I realized I have, not today, I have this moment. So I either live it or not. And I decide living is much easier than not living it. And I started, you know, my Facebook, I created my Facebook and I started writing, focusing on the good, what then became, you know, the positivists who are, you know, not showing the bad part and they're just pretending all it's nice. Well, no. I think, you know, when I'm in my 30s, starting with your 30s, you cannot not, I mean, the premise I start with is that we all carry, you know, breakdowns and sadness and, you know, disappointments in our life or in work. So that's the premise. The question is, do you look at them or do you try to make better? And I think people like me focusing on the good are just the people who, you know, didn't want to, if you put the light on the bad will, you know, expand. I don't want to expand that. So, and my boyfriend back then would tell me, Veronica, do you know that what you're doing is going to become something? It's like, no, I'm just writing on Facebook. It doesn't become anything. And he was right, because there was this community who loved the good I was spreading, and the stories I was telling. And then the fundraising project came. And then Lola, who fed kittens, and I made her a story and everything. And I launched the fundraising project, which was crazy and great. And then the walking 910 kilometers northern Spain, which changed my life completely in 2016, and telling the stories from over there as well. And then starting to make kaleidoscopes. So everything, you know, you put the pieces together, but in time, because, you know, not gardens need a lot of time. So I started gardening with the sweet, positive stories that I had to write, which were not my way of pretending I'm okay. Were okay. For instance, if I come back to the pandemic, in the first 2 weeks, I was, I didn't do anything in the first 2 weeks, because I was so upset with the fact that I all of a sudden have nothing, all my lots of workshops every day in companies and schools and going for the first time in the US, and all of a sudden I have nothing, and I couldn't, get to terms with that. But that doesn't mean I had bad days. I was struggling every day. And to be fair, I just when I came here, we were starting, I loved this from my, I've seen a story just when I closed my phone, and my friend Diana, there was a story on her feed that would say, some days I am a goddess, well, some days I'm a wild child, and some days I'm a fragile mess. Most days I'm a bit of all three, but every day I am here trying. So this is what I do. I just try to look at the beautiful shapes in us, in me, in the people around, and in the world. And, it's easy when everything is great, when, your work is great, when you are loved, when everything is in its place. It's very easy to be happy. When there's sun outside, of course, let's do the dance. But I think it's important to learn to do the dance when things are not so easy. And we have, every day when I open my eyes, that's a gift. I have to celebrate that gift. And I celebrate it by giving it, by showing it the beauty in the world. And the beauty in the world starts, and kaleidoscopes have taught me to look at the beauty in the world in many ways. When I started, if I look at the time, I have to wrap up. Steffi, Steffi says, let's go to questions. Steffi will go to questions right away. I didn't exactly look at them because I'm all focused in talking. There are a lot of things that I still wanted to tell you, but two things. So I'll try to wrap up. A story that changed me. So I play with kids from 5 years old to 92 years old. A range of kids. And I've played last January, right before my birthday, with Lady Constanza, who is 87. And at the end of it, I played with in a lovely evening. And at the end of the workshop, while she was looking at her kaleidoscope, she started crying. And she took my hand and she said, I needed this and I hadn't even known. And that touched me in a very, in a very special way. And I haven't even known. And a few months later, I met her near the metro station. She was coming with a lot of flowers. She was coming from a celebration of, 60 years since she graduated high school. And she was all happy and bright. And I said, hi, Lady Constanza. And she said, hi. And she didn't recognize me. I said, I'm Veronica, the girl with the kaleidoscope. And she took my hand again and she said, Veronica, I look in my kaleidoscope every single day. And in the beautiful days, I enjoy them. And in the not so beautiful days, I remind myself, and the kaleidoscope reminds me of the fact that the beautiful days will come back. And, every time I've seen, she's a beneficiary of a foundation in Romania, and I've seen all the ladies in January. Actually, Lady Constanza predicted I'm getting married by the end of 2020. So Steffi, invite me next year to tell you if Lady Constanza was right. But the thing is, every day she tells me, I've called her during the pandemic, and she's like, Veronica, the kaleidoscope is helping me keep my sanity, because it just reminds me that life is beautiful, and that sometimes when life is not so beautiful, I remember to look at the beautiful shapes, and they will come back in life as well. And one more thing, you know, I realized a couple of years ago that every day is an orange. You know, at the beginning of every day, I receive a very juicy orange. And it's up to me whether I drink all the juice of it or I drink just a little, I squeeze just a little bit of it. And I know there are days when, you know, you just want to throw that orange off the window. Fair enough. But I think it is precisely in those days when you have to try to squeeze a little bit the orange so that you can enjoy a little bit of the beauty in the world. And coming back to Lady Constanza, and I will wrap up with this, you know, be like her. If you don't have a kaleidoscope, you can look in your interior kaleidoscope, and when days are bright, just enjoy them. And when days are not so bright, just remember, just keep on doing that. And there has to be something about, you know, something beautiful in you or in the others or in the world that will make that day worth living. And I was telling you in the beginning, and that's, Steffi, I promise you, that's the last idea. I was telling you in the beginning that I'm lucky. I'm lucky to, you know, to have Lola. I'm lucky to be doing what I love. Making kaleidoscopes, setting up, you know, I set up the kit, the boxes are coming today, and I'm going to do the first deliveries, and I'll start the online workshops. I'm doing voiceover for different documentaries, and I'm now reading I'm reading some audiobooks. I'm reading Jane Austen, for that matter, a lot of love around me. So I'm happy to be doing all this, but I'm mostly happy that I discovered, and kaleidoscopes taught me that in the past 5 years, I discovered that there's a lot of beauty around us, and that if I open my eyes, and by that, I also mean that, I cannot not see it. And, you know, life is much easier to bear when you look at life in this kaleidoscopic way. So yeah, I'll read all the question. I bet you have read all that. I'm gonna read, because it's like so amazing to see beautiful words. Some days I'm a goddess. Yeah. So if you have questions for me, leave them here. Oh, magic. Magic is, you know, I believe in magic. I'm a believer. I'm a full-time believer. And, you know, that it's no wonder I'm a full-time believer, because I believe when it's tough, because it's easy to be a believer when all is great. But you know, magic arises from the fact that I just believe, you know, I believe in beauty, I believe in good, and I believe in spreading them. So I want to be that. Oh, Alisa, thank you. I'm looking forward to reading all you gave me goosebumps. Oh.
And we encourage you to also use your lovely voices.
Yeah.
We would love to hear you.
No, Julia says you need to be one to see one. I think, you know, there's a friend of mine, how I like to call Ram Dass, he said, only the part in you that resembles me can hear what I'm saying. So the fact that that touches you, it means you have that in you. Happy I was able. Oh, Viorica, that's so lovely. Actually, Viorica, you know, that's nice. Viorica will receive the kit these days because she's going to participate in my first workshop. So yeah, you can find me. I could, if I could eventually leave the Facebook, but I'm Veronica Soare, and I'm _Soare on Instagram. I live on social media, and I was about to say the F word. Love it. I love social media because it just, you know, technology brings. Daniel Montan raised his hand. Let's see you, Daniel. Hello, Daniel.
Hey, Veronica. Thank you for your stories. As always, we could listen to you for hours.
Thank you.
You know, they say the beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
But do you think there's something as objective beauty?
Objective beauty.
Yeah.
Well,
This is a question I've always asked myself. I work with art and design, and it's something I've always asked myself. I never got the answer.
well, I think it's quite a rhetoric question. I think no, I think beauty is subjective by default. I don't think we can objectify. You know, our perception can objectify it, but I think beauty is just out there. It doesn't even have to be put in a, you know, in a box or not. If it touches you, you know, if it makes you cry for joy, it goes in the show. It's, you know, just as easy. So to me, no, I don't think it's objective. Have I answered your question? But
Yeah,
keep on,
yeah.
if you find an answer that suits you, please let me know.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
Love his background, so sunny.
Sunny and bright.
Oh, nice.
Look at everyone. So do we have any questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you are all bright and shiny, and as far as I saw, you're usually or generally like this. But as you mentioned, you have times when you are feeling more low. What's the reaction of the people around you when you're not your usual self? Because I feel like if you're always this like shiny and happy and kind of like give this much energy, because I feel like I have a lot of energy after your talk. What happens when people expect you to be like that and you are not like that because you just cannot be?
That's a very good question, because yeah, that's a very good question, because people always expect from me this. And, you know, I try to remind them that this is a choice, and sometimes I cannot. There are days when I cannot make the choice. And for instance, last summer was very tough on me. So yeah, it's always tough because people have, and one thing I'd love to, you know, tell people is that, you know, accept the other just as he is in that very moment. Don't, because people rush into saying, oh no, everything will be fine. Of course it will be fine, but I have to choose the fine first, and now I cannot. So sometimes I am sweet on them. I must admit, sometimes it's annoying, you know, because I'm just a human being. I'm not faking. So I am, you know, life is tough on me even today, but I don't want to look at that. I'll sort out the things that I have to do. And, you know, I'll do my best, but it's, you know, I have to celebrate every day. And when I cannot, I just ask people to give me time, because I'll get back to my senses. Of course I will. But it's interesting how people find it tough to deal, not only with me, but usually with sadness. We don't know how to embrace it. And I'd be happy if people didn't want to change it, because that's faking it. I don't want to fake. I cry, you know, I cry on the streets if I feel like. So yeah, it's always tough when because, you know, when people ask you, how are you? You feel like everyone expects you to say fine. And when you all of a sudden say, you know, I'm not feeling very well today. And yeah, I'm trying to be sweet in telling them to give grace to tough moments. Have you ever felt that you lost yourself? Yeah, I have last summer. Last summer was very tough on me. It's just, I don't know. There were days when I'd walk Lola at midday because I just couldn't get off my bed. So I do practice what I preach. I am trying, and at the end of the day, my accountability is, you know, I always do so, try to, you know, live something nice. But yeah, I couldn't, you know, I thought I'm going to give up on kaleidoscopes last summer. I didn't know, you know, I lost my track. But then, you know, when people send you messages, or, you know, when clients start calling you at the beginning of September, Veronica, we want to play with you. I remember that I do like it. And it's, I always want to play with kaleidoscopes because it's fascinating to see how people love the what they discover about themselves. But what helped me in any hidden talent, you don't want to know. So what helped me in that tough time, and that's when I discovered a guy called Joe Dispenza, and probably some of you know him. So basically, Joe Dispenza put into neuroscience what I preach. So it's, you know, it's a choice, and the fact that, you know, we have to nourish the good, and the good thoughts first of all. It's something that helped me. So in a funny way, after 2 months of not finding my way, I played a Joe Dispenza clip, and all of a sudden, you know, I woke up, I took my, you know, the windows were closed, and I brought some light, and I said, enough, Veronica, life is way too precious. Any hidden talent? No, no, I think a lot of it is out there. No, I make great pancakes. Yeah. Yeah, Veronica Soare on Facebook. And Mother, can you please put the Kaleidolove link to the Facebook page? You know, you can follow me there as well. I'll have online workshops. I'm setting up the kits finally. Actually, I'll see, hopefully by the end of today, the box with everything in it, and I'll start shipping. And I'm happy, you know, I'm happy to, I do believe, so it's, I think it's pretty obvious that I love kaleidoscopes, and it's a genuine love, because they do teach us, if we give themselves time. You know, it's not just, oh, it's a nice object, I'll look at it, oh, it's nice. No, if you discover, you're always mesmerized and fascinated. And, you know, people who have kaleidoscopes for 5 years still tell me, like, you know, I sometimes look at it and I remember what you tell us. So yeah, spreading the light that shines within this magical object is something that I'll probably do for the rest of my life. Big hug, Vero. Yeah, I always send her as many heart emojis I can for her Facebook posts whenever I sense that she needs to be reminded. Because, you know, actually, if you look closer, you can see even in my writing when I'm, you know, when I'm having tough times. But the thing is that I'm always struggling. I think every day is a wonderful orange that we receive, and I want to honor that. Christiana raised her hand, and this, I think, will be, you know, I'd love to stay with you all day, but I think Steffi wants me to stop talking, which is always kind of tough. So Christiana.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, thank you for your wonderful talk and being so inspiring and positive. It's super great to see. And honestly, the reason I'm here is because I saw you mention kaleidoscopes, and I am also fascinated by them and have been wanting to kind of make them myself lately. So super cool to be here. But my question is, do you remember like your first experience with the kaleidoscope? I think you mentioned it was as a kid. Do you remember, like, was it a gift, or how did your love for them come about? And was it like an immediate thing, or did that grow?
No, it was an immediate thing. It was red, small, and I had been given it from Moscow. Somebody brought it for me from Russia, and I remember it. I remember, you know, but usually my memories are not neat in terms of objects, or I remember what something made me feel, and I remember losing myself in that joy. Yeah, all I remember is it was red, and I think I was around 5-ish or something. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, I remember how colleagues or friends had it, and I was always, oh, let me look at it. I want to, you know, look inside of it. I didn't know that back then, that, you know, they are infinite. You know, I have, for instance, this one is, you know, pinkish, like this one is in taffeta, this one. Anyway, I have these new kaleidoscopes now, and I'm playing with them. The thing is that there are no two identical kaleidoscopes, and I didn't know that back then. And for instance, now when I play with kids, I speak to them, of course, in their language, and they don't they don't discover the whole beauty, because I think that's absolutely, you know, it's, I myself still find myself so many years after finding things about Kaleidoscope. So, but they all go, wow, that's amazing. That's, and in a world of technology, it's kind of awesome when kids tell you, wow, that's greater than my dad's phone. Yeah, I think I liked it the way I could with my 5-year-old heart. But now I absolutely love them. I think they're magical.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vero.
Oh, Carmen, thank you. Thank you, Steffi. It was lovely to be here. I live on social media.
Yes.
So whenever you feel like telling me something, just let me know there. Thank you, everyone. It's wonderful that I've seen so many familiar faces and not familiar faces. It was lovely. Thank you for giving. You know, I know that in these times we are hit with a lot of ways of spending our time, not to mention our work. So giving me 1 hour of your time is absolutely wonderful. And I thank you for that.